Yeah, hi everybody. This is Captain Tom. Captain Tom's Sailing Adventures, or CTSA, which is what we're starting to call it. We are going to start working on episode number 5 today, and that's going to be the one where I step mi sueños boom into the old mast up using bowlines. We're going to splice those film clips in with this one here. But maybe some of y'all out there are kind of wondering a little bit about me. Give you a little bit more info here. I grew up in College Station, Texas, which is where Texas A&M is. My dad was on the faculty there. He was the head of the geography department, and he started taking me around the world when I was a kid. And we ended up in Micronesia when I was 16 years old, and I was one of the last Anglo men on the planet to sail on some of the original outrigger sailing canoes out there in 1970. I was 16 years old, and my old man didn't know it at the time, but he was ruining me for regular work. I was going to be a sailor for the rest of my life after that. It was an incredible experience, snorkeling in the water in those lagoons, seeing old World War II crash Jap Zeros, you name it, man. Old American wrecks, blown up ships, artillery shells. Across from Pulawan Atoll, where I lived, they had an old Japanese air base there on Aled Island, and there's anti-aircraft guns all over it still. Unexploded ordnance, absolutely an incredible experience. Graduated from Texas A&M with a degree in sociology in 1975, became a sales rep, and worked at various jobs doing sales work, and then decided when I was 27, when I saw a McGregor 36 catamaran for sale in Galveston, I decided to buy it and start what became Handsome Sailor Yacht Charters Incorporated, which I just sold a few months ago to another couple of guys back in the Corpus Christi area. And Linda and I, my wife and I, moved up here to Lampasas, Texas, and we have our boat, the Handsome Sailor, down at Matagorda right now, and we're still waiting on the weather to get across the Brazos River. We've had a lot of rain, and something else we're going to be talking about is the sustainability aspect of what we're into here. For instance, we built a catchment for our water tank over here out of recycled swimming pool legs. And if you look up here, you can see the, if it's not blinded too much by the picture here, you can see the guttering up there, and you can see our 1,100 gallon water tank here. We had 2.5 inches of rain last night, and we picked up 700 gallons of water. And from a survival standpoint, that'd be almost a year's worth of water for me and Linda, living on about a gallon a day each. So, you know, that's a lot of water. It didn't cost anything, and we use recycled material. This job would have cost anywhere from $700 to $1,000 in Austin, Texas, and Linda and I did it for a total outlay out of our pocket of about 55 bucks. And, you know, with the other video number 3 and video number 2, you also saw that we're really into building things here at Handsome Sailor, on the Handsome Sailor. And we also, at Captain Tom's Sailing Adventures, really are going to put an emphasis on that. So we're going to get started on episode number 5 now, and we hope that you enjoy the show. We'll see you a little later. Bye. Okay, so here we are, and this is Miss Linda's boom from mi sueño. As y'all can see, it's not terribly heavy, and it's got the old main sheet block still in place here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to get some line here, and I was talking about bowlines earlier, and what we're going to do is we're going to get this boom here, and we've got some line, and you know, we don't have anything very good to tie to, but this would certainly do in a pinch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the block here. I'm going to tie a bowline. Here it is again. Got the rabbit coming out of the hole, going around the tree, back down through the hole, and there it is. There's a bowline right there, gang. So there it is, and that's going to be one of our stays for this boom, for this jury rig. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to bore you with tying the other two lines and everything. I'm just going to go ahead and go from here. I'll have all three of them when I set up for the next shot, but it will more than adequately demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about here. So let's go on to the next step, which is getting up onto mi sueño. Okay, so here we are. This is Miss Linda's boat. This is a Star 119 right here, which is a really nice little sloop, keel centerboarder. And what I've done is I've laid the mast down up on the deck. Let's pretend for a minute that this boat has been dismasted. And you can see I've got the boom there with the mainsail all wrapped up around it. And we're going to go from there. I'm going to get some line and show you how we're going to step that boom in place. All right, everybody, here at Captain Tom Sailing Adventures, what I've done here is I've got the end of Linda's boom here, and I did something that looked kind of interesting. This is obviously an old double block, as you can see right here. It's a double block, and what I did is I tied a single bowline through each sheave to start with. Right here, you can see that there's a bowline through each one. And then since I ran out of sheaves to make the forestay, I just tied a bowline through the two bowlines. This is not absolutely ideal. Obviously, the boom could shift around a little bit, but it really wouldn't be too hard to alter the knots a little bit. You could put the bowlines around the end of the boom here. You could put them around the end of the boom, and then put a lashing around it, and it wouldn't slip at all. But just for the simplification of showing you guys how this can be done, this is just one way to do it right here. Again, as I was saying in another video, the bowline is the most important knot you can ever learn how to tie as a sailor. It's just the best all-around knot ever devised, in my opinion. So here we go. You see the rest of the sail right here, and obviously if we had a jury rig situation, the mainsail will probably be torn to shreds if it got dismasted. And what we'll do is we'll dig the jib out from up forward on Linda's boat here in a minute, and we'll see if we can't bend it onto our temporary forestay. Okay, so we'll go to the next phase from here. One thing I did here up on the deck of mi sueño, Linda's boat, is we now have our jury rig boom set up here. And to demonstrate the universality of the bowline knot, you can see down here, this has got a mast step so that like boats like this that trail, generally have got a mast step so you can set the mast up and down. But what I did is I got a piece of line, just tied it through one of the grommets in the sail, pretending that, we got a torn up sail here. And then I did a round turn on each side of the mast step. And again, you can see the bowlines that I tied, again, demonstrating the ability of the bowline. And we're about to set this thing up. Now, in real life, if we were rolling around and everything, it would probably take a couple of people to steady this thing. But even then, you could probably tie a couple of lines on either side of the boom. And as you brought it up, you could take up the slack a little bit so that the boom didn't go crashing back and forth across the boat. Obviously, it's easier here on land with the boat perfectly still, but still, you can kind of see what we're trying to illustrate here. Okay, success. We have gotten the mast, the new jury rig mast up. This is just the boom, but it's sticking up a good 10 feet off the deck here. We got our temporary upper shrouds all tied. And what I did, for the sake of simplicity for the video here, is I just tied some clove hitches on a bight onto the wire rigging here. If I was going to really do this at sea, I would go down to the base of the stanchion, or maybe even to the old chain plate if it's still intact. And it's always good to have spare shackles on the boat. You can always bend them into things like that. But what this demonstrates, guys, is, for the lack of a better way to describe myself, an old 70-year-old guy that knows a little bit about tying knots, you know, if we'd blown the mast out of this boat and I was 100 miles off Catalina Island in California, you know, and the wind was blowing out of the southeast, man, I could jury rig this thing back to, you know, to LA. I mean, there wouldn't be anything to it. It'd take a while. We'd go about 1/3 our normal speed. But I tell you what, man, going 2.5 miles an hour beats the heck out of floating at half a knot in a raft. That's for sure. So again, you can see how we've done it. This is all temporary. And that line right there is rated at about 1,500 pound test breaking strength. So for this boat, it would be more than adequate. If I was on Handsome Sailor, my boat down in Matagorda, I would probably double or triple the lines up because the rigging strength on that boat's about 16,000. But again, you know, you're not using the same kind of amount of sail area. And generally, in a ultimate self-rescuing situation, you know, if I blew the mast out of the boat and I was 100 miles off the coast of Louisiana, I would probably go to the nearest port of refuge, which would either be Grand Isle or Cameron, or maybe even back to Sabine, Texas. You know, that's what I would do. So here it is. This is your basic jury rig. I did it by myself. And if, you know, ordinarily you sail, when you go offshore, you have somebody with you. That's the safest way to do it. Single hand offshore is dangerous, even under the best of conditions, and you got to really know what you're doing. And even then, it's always a risk. But here it is, your basic jury rig. And it took me exactly, what, 5 whole minutes to build it. All it took was some spare line, bowlines, and a little bit of know-how. And those people that were out in between the Marquesas Islands and the Canal Zone, if they had done this, they could have made Nuka Hiva, and they could have saved them a $250,000 boat. And, you know, the thing also that blew my mind, I think they deep sixed the mast, which blows my mind. The mast was worth about at least $100 a linear foot, even used. So they threw $6,000 worth of mast over the side. Baby, this is Captain Tom, man, I don't do that, you know? I made my living, man, from taking other people's garbage and turning it into something. That's what I did. It doesn't take much skill, but it does take a little bit of know-how. Anyway, that's Captain Tom. That's the end of this vignette, and we'll have some recap at the end of it. Talk to you a little later. Yeah, hi everybody. Captain Tom here again. To recap, what we just did here in episode number 5 is we demonstrated how to basically self-rescue yourself doing a jury rig, utilizing a boom to get yourself out of a bad situation so you can get back to civilization. And also, you know, we were talking in the earlier part of the intro to this episode 5, we were talking about sustainability here. And here today we've had another, let's see, Miss Linda said we had 3/10 of an inch of rain. And we average roughly 70 or 80 gallons of water from our catchment per tenth. And so what I'm doing now is I'm walking out towards the water catchment cistern container. And what's really cool here, guys, is I'm going to tap on this thing here. And this is the 800 gallon mark right here. We've got over 1,000 gallons in there now, man. That's 1,000 gallons of water. And in a survival situation, this is what it's all about. You know, I think what we're gonna do on our boat, Handsome Sailor, down in Matagorda, is I'm gonna rig up a 10 by 15 sheet of clean polyethylene with some tie-up lines on it. And we're going to rig up a hose on that, and we're gonna rig up a water catchment for out there in the world. I mean, I've seen in a lot of the videos, a lot of folks, especially on the long treks between like the Canal Zone and the Marquesas, they're out at sea for over 20 days, usually 25. And of course, you know, they have a lot of water, and a lot of people have desalinators, but desalinators are a $5,000 luxury for the cheap ones. And Miss Linda and I don't have $5,000 for a desalinator, you know, but if you catch the rain, you can survive. And what this illustrates here is, as I said in the video before, we made that guttering out of the legs from an old wiped out freestanding swimming pool, an above ground pool. The old water catchment I bought 25 years ago, used for $300. You know, and I also mentioned that in Austin, to get the guttering like that done for a rig like this would cost, you know, around $1,000. And then the tanks now at some of the big name stores are anywhere from usually about $1 per gallon. You got a 2,500 gallon tank, you got a $2,500 tank. So, again, this is what we're all about here at Captain Thomas Sailing Adventures, man. You know, this is illustrated proof. I'm thrilled by it. You know, we turned this rainy day. I was going to work on the new pool today. Couldn't do that. So instead I worked on the videos, and I wanted to illustrate this right here. So I hope you enjoyed episode number 5 of Captain Thomas Sailing Adventures. Remember to subscribe. Man, we don't understand a lot of the stuff about how this works yet. I hope you'll bear with us. We're going to have a great time out there. And we're going to be heading for Matagorda here pretty soon again. And I may end up using that jury-rigged outboard engine teeter-totter system and the worn-out cutlass bearing to get through the Brazos River floodgate and use the outboard for the rest of it. But I'm getting to the shipyard, man. I want to get to the islands. I want to be out there hanging out with you guys out there in the Bahamas, man. That's where I want to be. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed episode number 5. It's Captain Tom. We'll see you later. Bye.